My two favorite words are welcome back. It is the summer season of Indigo's On the Couch series. And actually, to be honest, we've kind of upgraded to impress you. The couch is gone. I got a fancy new table and new chairs, but my guests are still inspiring. I'm so pleased we have this incredible platform to share stories of female leaders in the region, whether they're philanthropists, small business owners, big business owners, really incredible women to share their lessons, their failures, and of course, how to move forward in this incredible pandemic. Today, I'm pleased to welcome founder, serial entrepreneur, and of course, co-CEO of Cheeky Monkeys, Saima Khan. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to be here.
Well, I thought, since we kind of upgraded our set, I wanted to bring you back.
I love it. It's so comfortable.
Is it so comfortable?
Amazing.
Okay,
and you're adhering to distancing?
Perfect. We love that. I'm so excited to have you back.
Thanks.
One of the reasons I wanted to bring you back is, one, you're a serial entrepreneur, but you actually use this COVID crisis and have embraced it. You embraced the disruption, and as a serial entrepreneur, I think you have a different perspective of how you look at disruption. As you know, in the news, everyone was panicking about how to reach their consumer, whether their business was going to survive, the cash flows, the management. I mean, so many weaknesses, I want to say, of a business was really highlighted during this time. Let's start with what it was like for you in March or even February. When did you start noticing that things were about to change?
So, initially I think everyone, or I feel like the majority of the sentiment was denial. People in February, the word was on the street that there's a potential pandemic. There was so much misinformation, how people get affected by it. Does this affect children? Does it affect elderlies, children, adults, etc. So we were riding the bandwagon of denial as well, and kind of thinking in an optimistic way that, oh, this is happening in another region in the world. It's not going to come here. And sadly, within 30 days, it was like an avalanche or a tsunami, because you see that within minutes and within days, it was closing in on your region as well.
Yeah.
So I think at that point, it was a lot about, there was a great deal of need to do your own independent research, come to your own conclusions. This is, to me, very similar to a constitution that a country has, or religion. Everyone's philosophies have a base, and there's a basis to it. So it wasn't something that where I was saying, oh no, this isn't going to happen here and we're going to be fine. We were really keen on knowing what the sentiment was of everybody, especially our consumers and our guests, our customers, the children, and see where they felt where their comfort was before we started getting mandates from Dubai municipality and the government, and learning more from World Health Organization. So it was a very dynamic journey of change, where literally every 48 hours we had a different theory and a different philosophy of how we should go forward, or should we stop, or if at all, should we continue? We were hitting the stop and go button quite often in that month.
How many people are part of this group of, is it like your board members? Do you have a group of parents? I mean, who's on that board where you guys are exchanging ideas to move forward?
I'm really grateful. We have a very diverse group of board members, and we do rely on them heavily. We do have our constant we check in with them. They represent different members of the community. They sit on boards of education panels, schools, government, etc. So initially, the conversation was taken at the board level, but I very much take into consideration what I call my mommy mafia.
Yeah.
The mommy advisors, because these are the most, I think, intelligent group of women who can give you so many different perspectives. And it's not just from this point of view, from a pandemic point of view. I lean to them for trends on children's development, stages, parenting, education, fun, interesting summer camps, projects. So we do check in with both quite frequently, and that helped us a lot to make the collective decision on what we needed to do.
So you're actually one of the businesses which I was following, in addition to lots of other businesses, but that was adaptable. You're resilient as a brand, but you were really adaptable at a really quick pace.
Thank you.
Creating products that were still keeping kids occupied, keeping them creative, using, full sensories for them, including birthday parties. People were doing Zoom parties. You were able to deliver cakes on demand. What were some of the new offerings that you had?
So we had a lot of fun because after, it's always fun to go back to the drawing board and relook at your business and be more critical and more objective, and also to be having been given the luxury of the time to do it. I wasn't being pulled in 15 different directions. Everything had come to a screeching halt. So it was a really nice opportunity to just sit down and say, okay, you know, if I was a 6-year-old, if I was a 5-year-old, if I was a mother with 3 kids in lockdown, what would I like? And you know, kids at the end of the day, the recipe is still very simple, and I've always felt that way. We tend to, as parents, you know, become more elaborate and like to embellish celebrations, but kids still look for the basic activities that they still enjoy, which is getting messy with play, having a cake that they can literally put their hands into and lick the spoons, and balloons are always exciting. So we started launching more concepts that we could bring to our consumers' front door in their home, and it was great because we got such a nice response from our existing customer base, and we also were able to tap into another customer base that were feeling either their children were a little bit too old for play areas. All of a sudden we were doing birthday celebrations for teenagers, young adults, people turning 40. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all kids, aren't we?
Yeah.
And we bond over decorating cookies as a family for family get-togethers, or having balloons delivered to your home, or now we do bouncing castles that are in your front yard. You open the door and you can bounce. That's not restricted to any age. So that was fun. I really enjoyed that.
And what was that point where you started making those decisions? Because I think when we were looking at other businesses, everyone's afraid to make that decision, right? Because every day's changing.
Yeah.
At what point did you just put the green light and say, we're going to start taking these activities and bringing them at home?
So I read an article that was quite inspiring, and I wish I could give credit to where I read it, but there was a case study of Kit Kat, the chocolate company. And in World War II, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the story, they were not able to get the ingredients they needed to make Kit Kat. There was a shortage. So what they ended up doing was they started talking more about their product and building that brand recognition and that trust and philosophies towards the brand. And literally a year later, when the ingredients for chocolate were available, Kit Kat's sales went through the roof. So as an entrepreneur, I found that really inspiring, that just because my brand was no longer available, I've always said, and I really believe that Cheeky Monkeys, it's a feeling. You know, it's when you have word association, and hopefully when I say Cheeky Monkeys,
makes you happy.
It should make you happy.
Yeah.
It should make you giggle. It's another byproduct that I have to explain to you, that we're indoor play areas, we're located all over the world, but when you say Cheeky Monkeys, I'm hoping you're going to giggle a little bit or feel happy. So that when I wanted to package that happiness, and that literally was just an idea that we had across the board. It wasn't just myself, it was my partner, who was my husband, and our staff too, who were literally, you could see the energy level in the staff declining, because we basically employ entertainers and performing artists. So their love language is singing and dancing and creating and bringing happiness to children. You take that away from someone who enjoys doing that every day, you see their energy level dwindling. So this was something that came very naturally to everybody. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. We even did really fun, and we're still doing them, birthday parades. We're in front of someone's house. We land up, we make noise, our mascots come out, the neighbors get involved, we throw balloons, we put confetti all over their front yard, and the kids and the parents can still be at a distance, but a celebration can still take place.
That's lovely.
So that's nice.
Well, I think that's a really important lesson for all entrepreneurs, is how to keep your brand alive, even though if you can't have a physical presence, and how to keep people still interested and your customers interested. And how were you communicating that to your customers? What was your tool?
So I find that there's still a lot to be said for good old-fashioned guerrilla marketing, where you really count on your core group of customers or loyalists that will just have such a great experience that they'll turn around and they'll tell their friends and their network. And to me, that is the most valuable type of endorsement you can get. But you know, we're living in a time of technology, and I'm so grateful for social media and all the fact that it's readily available to everyone, and it can come inside on your fingertips, on your phone, in your home. You can have access to it. So we did do a fair amount of social media, you know, telling stories and getting feedback from even how children on the other side, the recipients, were feeling when they had these exciting experiences come to their home.
Well, I think word of mouth PR is so powerful, especially anything that has to do with children,
Yes.
parents, because you really want to know firsthand what that experience was. You don't want to be sold on like the glossy marketing. You really want to know that your kids or their kids genuinely had a great time.
Yes, and I value what
yeah.
mothers say. So if a mother tells me, try this, or this was a great experience, my son and daughter loved it, it's done. I'm there.
And now are all the locations open?
We are slowly turning the lights back on. You know, the perception may be that we're larger than we are, but at the end of the day, we're still very much a small business. We were actually in a unique place. We were a small business that had decided that we were going to launch our growth, funny enough, in 2020.
Oh, I think a lot of people.
So I mean, this
had
is
different plans.
You know, this
for
was a year where that
2020.
saying sounded so incredible: go big or go bust, or go home, and all of that sort of stuff. And so this was the year that we had to kind of, I mean, in all fairness, in 2018-19, we started laying out the groundwork and the vision for growing the brand.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were busy growing and diversifying into other geographic locations and other currencies and other places, this was a very humbling experience because I don't think anything prepares you for halting, coming to a screeching halt. Literally every location had to, one after the other, Philippines, Lebanon, Saudi, America, Dubai, halt within 2 weeks. So that was quite a challenge.
And as an employer, how did you protect your employees during that time?
Well, you know, I'm really grateful. We, again, are big enough to be able to take care of the, you know, to instill the infrastructure and the right policies and procedures so that there's always safety and guidelines for staff.
Mm-hmm.
But we're small enough that we actually know most of our staff members. We know the team. We know their backstories. We know where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an initial, I mean, it was a challenge for sure because we tried to hold on as long as we could. And then, of course, with the airports being closed, you couldn't leave your staff stranded.
Yeah.
So we were really grateful that we were able to be in touch with our staff immediately, and we came up with wonderful solutions in which we were able to maintain the staff. One of the solutions we started was, one day I was thinking, okay, for example, in Dubai, we have about 250, 300 employees. They have a network, they have friends, everyone's concerned about being protective and protective covering. So we literally offered them an incentive program where get in touch with your network, whether that be my existing network or your own, go dip into the Cheeky Monkey database and start telling people what we have available in terms of face shields, protective products, things that can come home. So they were very excited because they were able to still represent the brand. And in addition to some salaries being cut down, they were able to make up the difference on their own initiative through a commission structure. And it was actually a lot of fun. It kept us all in touch. We were all WhatsApping each other and high-fiving each other that, yeah, I did this booking, or I was able to deliver, 50 face shields to this medical clinic. And it was a lot of fun. So we had to be very innovative in that sense and adaptive. If you told me 6 months ago that I would be doing some of these things or selling face shields for children, really cute ones, I'd be like, it doesn't even make any sense. But we got in on the game, a bit of in on the action, and it was nice. It was really
so
nice.
we tapped on the word technology. How have you incorporated technology in the Cheeky Monkeys corporation?
Okay, so I'm really excited to share with everybody what we ended up doing was, first of all, before I even go further, I think the government of the UAE has been absolutely phenomenal. The regulations, what they've mandated in terms of cleanliness, hygiene, occupancy limits, I feel very, very safe. And at the end of the day, it's about trust.
Yeah.
You have to trust the infrastructure that's around you. You also have to trust the brand that's
100%.
willing to serve you. So in our case, if you see what the government themselves have mandated, it's amazing. What we did was we feel that we took it to another extreme level, which was we partnered up with a company called Prime Med. And it's a young, incredible, innovative team. And what they've done is they've taken medical technology along with sanitization concepts, and they've merged the two. They have biomedical engineers that are now working with our staff at Cheeky Monkeys. They've come inside all of our locations, and they're giving us next level, next generation technology that will help to further ensure sanitization. So a small example is that some of the fogging technology and the sanitization guns that they have are actually designed to go very, very high and into corners that normally cannot be reached by human beings.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Second thing that I've learned a lot on, and I feel like I got a quick PhD on, is UV lighting. It's very powerful, and if it's used properly, it actually destroys germs and bacteria completely. It's so powerful that in one given area of 8 to 10,000 square feet, you only actually need to turn on the lights for 15 to 20 minutes a night within 24 hours.
Yeah.
It kills everything.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very important thing for parents to understand, and for restaurants to understand, and for schools to understand, because there's only so much you can do with a sanitization spray. And especially when you're dealing with surfaces, there's only so many precautions you can take. So I actually took the liberty of bringing a miniature of our little wand. So we have these wands that
I need one as well.
I love this.
OCD at home.
I love this, and I literally have this everywhere, not only inside the locations, but in my home as well. So you turn this on, and basically within 15 to 30 seconds on a soft area that you normally cannot sanitize.
Yeah.
So you're talking stationery, pens, retail items, so many elements, underneath shoes, places that you can't just keep spraying.
Yeah.
This basically kills all the germs.
It's a UV, right?
It's a UV wand. It's really,
and it's
the most amazing.
It's like a US.
Yeah. So you basically, it's got a charger. You can charge it like you charge your phone, like you charge your laptop.
Wait, I think we're buying this set.
It's
Cheeky Monkeys.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're retailing it. We're using it.
This is brilliant. Whoever's watching this is so sleek, as well as designs. If you're actually using this in your home, you can buy this at Cheeky Monkeys.
Along with some technology, our staff wear these lanyards that basically have antibacterial protection, so that even the staff, because I feel my staff is also vulnerable, as well as our customers that are coming in. We also want the staff to maintain very high standards for their own sense of hygiene as well, and their protection as well. So we have taken extra measures. Right now, you should wear a mask. A lot of our staffs are wearing clear shields that cover your eyes, that cover your nose, and additional covering for the mouth. They're light, they're comfortable, everyone loves them, they're really happy. So we're doing a lot of those things.
And they're available for all sizes. So if it is something, if you are living abroad and you're watching this, you can order this from Cheeky Monkeys. They will deliver it to you.
Yes, absolutely.
For kids and adults as well.
Absolutely. We have little sanitization boxes where we put our pens and our pencils in, and we're constantly sanitizing them, again with the genius of UV lighting.
So what are just 3 tips you can give to entrepreneurs out there with small businesses to really protect themselves? So lessons learned during this pandemic.
I think the biggest thing is you really have to widen your mindset and really be open to having a growth mindset. And I know that sounds like a really trending word to put together and to sound like you really know what you're talking about. But at the end of the day, I think what happens is we get so emotionally involved with our own businesses. We fall in love with our own businesses like we do with our children. And then when someone wants to give you an insight or a little critique about your business, which is like your child, you get a bit defensive, and you don't really necessarily are receptive to listening to that. So I think that is something that I feel is very critical, is that you have to keep looking at your business and be welcome a board of advisors, or like in my case, my mommy mafia, or a secret shopper, or someone who can go in and really look at your business from a different point of view and share that with you. Be open to that. I think the second thing that the advice I would give a lot of small businesses is really hire what I call your bad guy. Make sure you hire the best bad guy, who is basically your financial controller, and in my case it's my husband, who really covers your bases in terms of financial forecasting, making sure you don't get carried away with your overheads. It's so easy to get carried away, exactly, with things, or to get so creative where you're foregoing the bigger picture because you're getting so involved with the nitty-gritty. And it's easy to do when you're an entrepreneur that loves creativity. I think that is it is at the end of the day about sustainability for businesses, and to do that. And I think just staying current and being, again, going back to that concept that I really believe in, which is learning, unlearning, and relearning. And we can always take a good dose of that. So even though we're all being humbled right now. We know businesses that we'd studied as business case studies in school or in on our our weekend leisurely reading, which are obsolete now.
Yeah,
they're completely obsolete. So potentially being vigilant to what else is out there, and maybe being open to always having what I call an incubation nest, where you can incubate new concepts that don't take away necessarily from your main thread, but allows you to always have that one little finger in something that you've always thought would be interesting or cool, but you never had the time to venture out in. Start a little incubation concept of your own within your business that could segue into something that would either complement your business or become another profit generating center for you.
I love that. I think one of the most important lessons, and we've seen it because so many businesses have gone obsolete overnight, was just that their financials were just not in order.
Yes.
And, really being observant of all the cash flow that's going in and out, how to save, and how to really protect yourself for a rainy day, both in a personal level and a running business.
Absolutely, and my heart beats for anybody who's in that position, because that's a very difficult position to be in, when you have to call the shots on what you can do and what you can't do. And everybody loves to grow, and everybody loves to be able to do pretty much everything that they can in terms of businesses and offerings, but sometimes you could forego your financial health trying to do that, and that is it's a fine line. It's a bit of a tricky situation to walk. So hence why I say lovingly, your financial person, which is, I was jokingly say, is the bad guy.
Yeah,
they have to tell you the truth.
And ironically, when we look at what's happened in the crisis, that they're the most, I guess, incredible countries have been led, or incredible kind of businesses that have been led by females.
Yes.
I love, the Prime Minister of New Zealand. She's amazing.
Yeah.
She came out of COVID with 0 scars.
Unbelievable.
And what was your point of view on female leaders during this time?
I think that I'm biased, of course, so I'll always be the biggest cheerleader for female leaders, but I think that we do have a unique ability to multitask, and I know the word multitask is also overused, and sometimes it's not a good thing because you could just be scattered, but I feel that we have the ability to juggle a lot, and you'll hear other wonderful male leaders who also acknowledge women for being able to do that. And I think that maybe biology's just favored us. We can have kids and wipe a nose while being on a Zoom call. We could just manage so much. I'm really grateful, but I think it goes back down to, all joking aside, it is about EQ, having that emotional quotient.
Yeah, but empathy that I think females just naturally have.
Empathy, and just kind of being able to see things in shades of gray, because life is a lot of shades of gray. And I think that and it isn't so black and white, and I think hence why women are able to juggle that.
Now, I love the way you've taken care of this crisis. I want to go back just to highlight some of your serial entrepreneurial highlights. You have an incredible career starting in the States. When did you have that gene? Well, when was that kind of tipping point where you just wanted to start businesses? Because I feel like your whole family comes from entrepreneurs. Just like mine, but I love that idea of just having that fire in the belly where you just want your idea to come to fruition.
Thank you for asking. I think I'd probably identify it to 2 things. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a family where my parents were first generation immigrants, and to see them struggle for things that we take for granted. Now, this is back in the day where in Canada, where being a foreigner was a big deal and it wasn't fashionable, and we weren't living in a time where you could walk around with henna tattoos and Beyonce was cool. It was, you were either white or you were not. It was as simple as that. To see my mother, who graduated from London School of Economics and had an English accent, but still struggle because ethnically she kept, everybody kept asking, but where are you from? But where are you really from? So to see my immigrant parents, really, they didn't have a plan B, they didn't have a parachute, they didn't have a lot to go on. And to see how they had that hunger to give us kids a better life, I'm forever indebted to them for that. I think that really has made me the person I am today, because I remember clearly seeing it. And I think the second thing is, I've never been a big proponent of conformity in terms of education and schooling. I've always been a proponent of progressive education, and I think traditional education can sometimes be very stifling. And I think that I was lucky that my mother, I don't think she ever checked our report cards. I don't think she ever mandated any structure growing up as a child. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but she literally raised us as optimists. And everything was possible, and if we wanted something, we had to make it happen. And she always used to tell me that, education is something you can get on demand when you need it. But characters, value, the ethic of hard work, you either build that foundation at that opportunity that you have to build it. It won't come later. You can't wake up at 40 and say, oh, I think now I'm going to work really, really hard and have character and value. And I mean, obviously people can change, and life is full of changes and second chances, but it's harder when you're developing a young mind. So we were really lucky that our mother was just like, you know, didn't care for conformity, didn't care
if
for
your mom's watching, I think I need your mom on the show, because we need to learn from your mom.
She was traditional in the sense that, you know, we still had to remember, like, kind of in some ways, like what our culture expected of us. But in terms of our personal growth, she really let us do a lot, and I'm grateful for that.
Well, I will say that a true testament to your success is that you are constantly learning. Not only just reading, but taking courses. Both you and your husband are very active in leadership organizations and very involved in progressing. And I love that. I think that's really important. What are 2 books you recommend for not only just entrepreneurs to read, but for all of us in general?
So when I got to hit the pause button for the last few months and my schedule was less busy, it was there's a saying that I love that says, if you can't go outside, go inside. So it was a great opportunity for me to fill little, I guess, buckets of things that I wanted to do and nourish my soul, and read things that weren't necessarily business-based, because even the business community really didn't have a lot to say in the last 4 or 5 months in terms of, you know, what's next, except for the obvious, which is, you know, technology is the way forward and things like that. So I loved this one book called Stuffocation, which is something I think that we can all relate to, where I think during the pandemic, we all came to a lot of realizations that we don't need as much as we think we need, whether that be activities to do, people to meet,
consumerism,
shoes to collect, food to consume, all of that. So I really like this gentleman. He's a relatively young author in England, and I like the way he spinned the whole, and I love the word stuffocation. That just really got to me. I love that. And then I also really took more time to listen to what I call thought leaders, people that are wanting to share and talk about different ways of how we can adjust our thinking and how we can look at things, and you really start realizing just how powerful the mind is. So one of my favorite books is The Power of the Subconscious Mind, which I've mentioned to you before, because it was a pivotal book in helping me to understand how our subconscious responds to literally everything, and how important it is to have access to it. So during this time, I've been enjoying reading more about Joe Dispenza's philosophies on, you know, manifesting and the art of the science of manifestation. So I think that these are the tools that everybody at any age group should be able to, I don't want to use the word master, because I don't think anyone fully masters it, but completely understand it, because it does help you to understand where you're going, and it helps you to build a lot of intuition. And at the end of the day, however businesses are run, there's no right or wrong formula. A lot of the most successful business people that we admire have gut instincts and run it by intuition. Intuition to me is a science in itself.
And I went to ask you about, you know, not only about manifestation, but really just taking your idea and saying it out loud. Because people always just talk about ideas, but it's really about just really putting it in the universe. And whether you do it through a mood board or a visual board, there has to be something like that you're creating your goals.
Absolutely. I think Wayne Dyer covers it the best. I think his book is The 1 Minute Meditator, where he actually talks about the sounds that we create from ourselves, and the voice that comes out of ourselves is the voice that becomes the voice of guidance and reason at the end of the day. So they even have this new modality, which I think is interesting, where they say when you manifest, don't just say this is going to happen. Ask yourself, why is this going to happen? Because the default setting of people is that they like to explain and defend why things are happening. So that helps you to increase it even more, which I thought was such a great way of looking at manifestations as well.
And Oprah, I mean, everyone talks about it. Oprah talks about manifestation and really just saying it out in the universe.
You have to put it out there. It's very daunting. It's very difficult, because sometimes the inner voices inside your own head are saying, well, how is that possible? So again, you can ask yourself why, because then you can start giving yourself very logical reasons as to why it could happen, or you just manifest the way that most of us have been taught, which we put it out there and the universe now will take care of it. The onus is not on yourself to do that. But you have
to train your mind to recognize opportunity.
Yes.
I think that's the other factor. People are just waiting for someone to solve their problem when really the opportunity will present itself.
Yes.
And it's your job to really acknowledge it, identify it, and take it.
Yes. So, if you want to have a nice body, you spend hours in the gym. If you want to take care of your gut health, you spend hours researching food and where to go shopping. If you want to live a better life, you need to spend hours with yourself.
Yeah.
And really learn about what you want. And you'd be surprised, the more time you spend with yourself, you realize that you have abilities and gifts and inclinations towards things that you've been muting, and it's only when you spend time with yourself you realize what possibilities exist.
I want to just recognize that you do work with your husband.
Yes.
You created this very successful business. How do you ensure that you both are on the same wavelength, the same plane going forward, not just for the business side, but really to create a secure future going forward? Because a lot of people now, especially during times of crisis, have either lost their jobs, have left their jobs by choice.
Yeah.
They're following their passion. They're teaming up together as a couple to build a business for themselves. And what happens is these personalities start clashing because you only have a relationship as a husband, you don't have this partner relationship. What are your tools for success when it comes to partnership?
Two things that I'm really grateful for is in our early, younger part of our journey, we took a course called Scaling Up Rockefeller Style. And it is a course that I recommend everyone should take if it doesn't matter what stage you are in your business. Mm-hmm. And this particular course moves around, so I know it's available in many countries. Mm-hmm. And they're business consultants that come in and basically help you to understand the nitty-gritty of your vision. And it's very easy to assume that I've just explained something to you, so you're on board or you get it, but maybe you're not. Mm-hmm. So they give you these really great exercises that you can bring in your managers, you can bring in your partner, and you can work together. And we really enjoyed this. And that became almost like a bit of, we joke, it's almost a bit of like couples therapy as well, because it covers so much of how you want to, where your vision is going with your business. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? How do you plan on getting there? And you cannot leave this workshop until you've addressed it. It's not a theoretical workshop, it's an actual workshop. So I highly recommend that for young entrepreneurs, and like I said, even seasoned entrepreneurs. Bring in your team and do something like that. Again, Scaling Up Rockefeller Style, which I love the name, I think it's so cool. So that's one thing. And then I think the second thing is that we have come to the realization that both of us have what we like to call our zones of genius, where we know that one or the other is so much better at understanding or dealing with something. And you come to a stage in your life when you work together for so long that you don't need to really prove anything to each other. You already kind of proved to each other when you decided to make the commitment to get married.
Yeah.
So you're done. And now it's like, how do you navigate this together in terms of everything? In our case, it's our businesses, and it's also our children. And we have a blended family system where he has 2 children, I have 2 children, we have 2 children.
Yeah.
So it becomes a little bit more interesting and more challenging because there's different thought processes and different philosophies that come into raising children as well. But I think the key is just recognizing each other's zone of genius and letting that person do what they're really good at doing, and just having faith that they're gonna take care of it. They're gonna do a good job at it.
That's the best tip. So don't ask me to ever cook.
Yeah, exactly.
If I ever get married, don't ask me to cook. It is not my forte.
It's not your zone of genius.
It's not my zone of genius. I can order for you with pleasure. I love that. I think that's actually a really great tip, because right now we're seeing a trend of couples coming together to start building businesses, and you really do have to recognize everyone's strengths and what they bring to the table and acknowledge it, celebrate it, and cheer each other on, but let everyone have their space as well.
Absolutely. And it goes back to what I always say is, to raise a child, it takes a village. So no one can say to start a business, it's just one person. Yeah. It takes an entire community sometimes to help you have what you need, to have the resources you need to build a business. So I don't believe in taking that solo route and thinking that it can just be done as a one-off. Also, it goes back to energy. You get to have that chance of bringing in so much dynamic and great energy if you share.
Yeah.
So it's always nice to do it in a bigger group.
I love that.
Thank you.
Brilliant conversation. I'm not going to let you go until you answer, of course, our motto, which is living beautifully. What is your answer for that?
I think now more than ever, living beautifully to me is really taking the time to invest in my personal space, and in my case, it would be my home. Mm-hmm. And again, I know we've discussed this before, but I just feel where you eat, where you pray, where you sleep, just hit the pause button, walk around your home, see where the natural sunlight's coming in, learn more about feng shui and vastu and energy, because a lot of it's a lot of common sense.
Yeah.
Where water should be moving, where your bed should be facing, the colors you use inside your home, the pictures that make you happy, the artwork that makes you smile. Really, I think I would forego one holiday and take all of that time and that resources to set up my home nicely and enjoy it. And
I always say your home should be your sanctuary.
Yeah.
It should be the place you want to be.
Absolutely. And it's been such a pleasure in the last 3 or 4 months. We've all moved towards the trend of entertaining at home, inviting each other to our homes. And what I've enjoyed the most is no 2 dinners I've been to have been the same. Mm-hmm. No 2 homes have been the same. No 2 styles of menu planning have been the same. How exciting is that? Yeah. Where when you're invited to a commercial place, sometimes you pretty much know what's on the menu, you know when it's gonna start, you know when it's gonna end. But I've been loving that. And to add to that, one book that I've enjoyed reading is The Art of Gathering.
Oh,
it's such a beautiful book. It talks about, when we gather, why wouldn't we start gathering now with some purpose? It doesn't have to be a direct purpose, it could be an underlying purpose, but just how to bring groups together and how to really cherish and enjoy different types of company in each other and make it more interesting, make it more meaningful.
I love that.
Thank you
so much for being with us. Everyone, there you go. It's Saima Khan sharing her words of wisdom. This has been one of the most inspiring talks, and I think it's going to be so useful. Whatever business level you are in, a small business, mid-level business, or even a big scale business, is really identifying where you want to take it to the next level, how to address a crisis, and of course, disruption. Embrace it.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here, as always.
A big thank you to Saima Khan. She's the co-CEO of Cheeky Monkeys and, of course, a serial entrepreneur. Thank you for sharing your words of wisdom.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We've learned so much, especially during this time, about how to embrace crisis and, of course, disruption. Regardless what level business you're in, small, medium, or large business, we all are dealing with the same issues. And I hope everyone's going to embrace change going forward. And thank you for joining us for our summer edition of On the Couch series with Rosemin, and of course in partnership with Indigo Living. We'll see you next week.